And I think I'm unmuted. You think after all this time I'd have that down? I'm assuming everybody can hear me correctly. Mary is not here to tell me my mic's muted or something tonight because she's home with the grandchildren, which have been here all week, and this is their last night here. Somehow, among all that's been going on with the grandchildren and everything else, I managed to get a show done. And of course, we didn't have anybody go in front of camera again. It's microphone is fine. Thank you, Guy. Hi, Guy. And that's Mary. Since she's at home and I'm here, you are fine. Good. I guess I feel fine. It's kind of creepy here, although my neighbors are keeping me company because they're banging and crashing, and it sounds like they're building a large wooden badger next door. Or was that a giant rabbit? Anyway, you may hear some thumping from time to time and maybe even some mariachi music, but everything's fine. Don't panic. I think that's what it was. Great thing. Hitchhiker's Guide. So I digress. This week, the show is another short one because honestly, they get people watch them all the way through, and they watch them because when they're longer, they kind of put it off, and I do it myself. I think I've been a broken record about this, but what our analytics are showing us is that the shorter ones are watched all the way through. Almost 90% of the people watched all of them, which makes YouTube say, "Oh, these guys are great." So they start recommending our channel to more and more people. So um, it doesn't make them any easier to do because you try to pack a lot into a very short space of time. And sometimes the illustrations, graphics, and visualizations I do using my CG talents um, are somewhat rushed because I don't have a lot of time to do them, but still they turn out pretty well, and there's a lot to pack in. But tomorrow I do some short stories, short little bits that happen, some things that I did do work with Yvonne Smith with, and some without, which I didn't do. So uh, Mary doesn't see that Judy's here. I can see her in the green room waiting. Hi, Judy. She's waving. So what was I saying? Oh, God, distraction. So it's an interesting show, and it's several different little things that happened to me. Some quite striking. Nothing like being fully awake, fully conscious, and walking to your house and walking face to face with one of the visitors. You got to try it. It's really something. So that's one of my cover. Another one was a drive back from UC Davis, visiting a girlfriend in around 1971 in my Alfa Romeo, and that's all I'm going to tell you for now. That was an interesting one as well. I've been writing them down as I recall them in a little black book. So because the way things are going, I know that Yvonne has someone coming out from New York. It's a new client, and she's going to be here for the support group meeting, but she's also bringing her out from New York, and she is going to go in front of camera. Raven Dana will also be doing that later this year, but for now, she's going to be next week's guest. And boy, she has some experiences, including a really famous one at Whitley Strieber's cabin, who was written about in Breakthrough. Meanwhile, I've been talking to Yvonne, and I'm going to start slowly working on my recollections, my memory, and recreating what I experienced at the Coronado. Yes, Coronado, San Diego, where we had that conference down there and a mass abduction of almost everybody in the Close Encounters group. You can hear that. That's Mary because she's not here. It's just a repeat. Okay. Where was I? Coronado. Yes. It was amazing what happened there. And not many people are still alive from it. And not many people want to talk about it anymore. But Yvonne and I plan to on camera, and we're hoping maybe someone else will come forward from it. But either way, we're going to cover that, and you're going to get to hear what happened to me. I was Sam in the book. If you've read Yvonne's book, which you can get on Amazon. I want to bring Judy on now because I've been jibber jabbering enough. I did want to bring up one thing, though. It was interesting today that, and this has sort of been a pet peeve of mine, that Mary put up an AI picture and compared it with a non-AI picture. And then she wrote about it and how, AI is lacking soul of any sort. And everybody commented on the picture, but no one bothered to read what she wrote. I have found this all the time, especially on Facebook, because you'll put up a picture and you will describe what's going on in the picture, and then you'll get all these questions about what's going on in the picture. Why did you do that? Why is it? Or this one's really good. You need to show the whole picture. It's cropped. Well, of course, on YouTube, Facebook, you need to click on it so it opens to the full size. So it's, I don't know, but I always read the description, so I think it's a great idea in case, you get caught not reading them. So anyway, let's bring Judy on. Hi, Judy.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
I'm just great and dandy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm sorry you're all alone there in the studio.
Yeah, well, normally my wonderful dog Rosie would be here at my side no matter where I am. In the depths of hell, that dog would be next to me, and I'm missing her terribly 8 months later.
I'm sorry.
I got to do something about that. But yeah, I'm here, and Mary's at home. Home is only 15 minutes from here, but it seems far away. And There go the neighbors again. So thank you for being on the show.
Sure.
You have a lot to share. We have an hour and you have a lot to share. So, you know,
Okay.
where do you want to start?
Um, where do you want me to start? Do you
Beginning?
at the
Or
beginning?
is that
Well,
too?
for me, I think it began in 1995 in Maui. We were there on vacation, and we were there a couple of days. And one night at about 1 or 1:30 in the morning, I well, I had gotten a burn on my back that day, and so I had gone to sleep with pillows around me so that I would sleep on my side and I wouldn't roll onto my back because it would be painful. And my husband had put aloe gel all over my back, and I woke up in the middle of the night and needing to use the bathroom and realized that I was lying on my back and that with the aloe gel, I would be stuck to the sheet and that it would hurt to sit up and go use the bathroom. So I was kind of talking to myself in my head before I even opened my eyes. So I was coming awake before I opened my eyes. That's the point I'm trying to make. And when I did open my eyes, right above me, maybe half a foot away, was this face. And the skin was very mottled looking, almost like a granite or squid skin or something, and there
Mhm.
was, one large almond-shaped eye. It was black, and I
Quite
screamed.
close.
It was
Very
right.
close range.
Yeah, I only
Yeah.
saw one eye, and the skin was so close to me, I could see the texture of the skin.
Can you describe that?
What's that?
Can you describe the texture of the skin?
Yeah, it was grainy looking. It was grainy looking, it had a sheen to it. It was, grayish, pinkish sort of color, um, and then the eye was just large almond black eye
Mhm.
that I couldn't see any, sclera or anything, pupil or anything.
Mhm.
It was just flat black. And of course, I only saw it for a moment, and I screamed and leapt out of bed. And, my husband turns on the light, and we're looking in the room, and there's nothing there. We go out on the lanai, there's nothing there. And so I had been down to the beach, um, the day before, and I picked up a couple pieces of, pumice stone for my son to take home to him. And, I I told somebody that day after I woke up like that in the night. I had told somebody that I had picked up this stone, and then I told them about this dream I had with this face, and they gave me the idea that it was probably a god of the island and that you're not supposed to take the stone, the lava stones from the island. So I thought I had done something really wrong. And so immediately, when we got back, I took the stones back down to the beach and I knelt in the sand and I said a little prayer. I said, "Please forgive my ignorance. I didn't know I shouldn't do this. I'm very sorry. I'm putting it right back. Please forgive me." And so I felt like, I'd done the right thing. That night, I went to sleep and I had this dream that I can still remember the details of today. Um, and I had this dream that I was at this waterfall and it was night and there was a high cliff and there were these pools coming down from the waterfall. And I looked up on the cliff and I saw a line of people. And I realized that I was standing at the end of this line of many people, and they were ascending up the cliff on a ledge. And up at the top, there were 4 tall white beings, and they were so white they kinda glowed.
Hmm.
And I was standing in this line, and there was this humming in the air, and this vibration, and this ethereal music. It was kinda like one long note being played on a string instrument, like a
Huh.
cello,
Yeah.
and it was just vibrating everything, my body, the air, and it felt like music, and it was just very I was in a very relaxed state. Of course, I was dreaming, but it was also a lucid dream because I was aware that I was dreaming, and I was looking at people, and I was thinking, and I was waiting in line, and I wanted to see what happened when you got up to the top of the ledge. And what happened was I met these 4 beings, one in particular. I stood in front of her, and she felt like a female, and she put a flower lei around my neck. And I remember looking in her eyes, and her eyes were not they were overly large, but they were not the eyes that I had seen with the creature at night that had woken me up. And I just looked in her eyes, and I just had a really strong sense of unconditional love, and I just that's how the dream ended. I just was looking in her eyes and feeling loved. Um, so that happened.
I know that music, by the way.
Really?
Mhm.
So, yeah. I haven't heard anybody else talk about that before. Where have you experienced that?
Well, I'll just keep it short because we want to hear your story. But it was when my girlfriend Judy passed away. Now she was 24 and I was 26, and spent the night at a friend's house and had a brain aneurysm. But I didn't know that. No one knew it. I got up the next morning and went to a premiere of a film I was working on called Battle Beyond the Stars, of all things. And when I got back from the premiere, that's when I found out she had passed. Thing is that right before I woke up, I had this powerful dream, and there was this music, like you described, and this ambience, and colored clouds. It was so cliche, and she came to me and told me that I was right about a lot of things because she laughed about my belief in UFOs and afterlife and aliens and that kind of stuff. And she was telling me I was right about all those things. And she was naked except for a pair of panties on. And she hugged me and said everything, she was fine, and she had to go, and she disappeared back in the clouds. And I woke up going, what the heck was that? Of course, when I got home and found out she passed away around 6 in the morning, and she was found in her underwear off to the side of a couch where she was sleeping in a friend's house, and she had an aneurysm. Um, it completely shocked me.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
So
Yeah.
that, you know, people say, well, you had a dream. Well, that's one hell of a coincidence.
Yeah.
So you really have to, what it tells me is you have to really re-examine these dreams, especially the very vivid ones, the ones that actually make sense, even though the things that you are experiencing in them may be unusual and odd and fantastic. If A goes to B goes to C, which isn't often in dreams, they're mixed up and crazy, but it's a reality all of its own. I think we really need to pay attention to those. I know the indigenous people and the Aborigines and many other people have, and they live their lives by them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when you have a dream that you remember, like, it's sequential, and you remember smells, you remember touch,
Yeah,
you remember so much of it. It's more like a lived memory than it is a
sure.
dream.
You feel temperature, warmth,
Yeah,
wind.
yeah,
Yeah, it's all there.
yeah. It's more than just a dream, and, I don't have dreams that I remember for 95, how long ago was that? Like, 30 years ago, you
Oh,
know?
sure, sure.
So, do you remember regular dream and usually dreams just evaporate in the morning like smoke, you know?
Well, you might remember them for a little while, but then you'll forget about them later on. And um, but then there's those other ones that I remember most of them to this day, no matter how far back they are.
Yeah. I remember all the dreams that I've had that are like that are
Yeah.
lucid and
Mhm.
yeah, I remember them. Like
How
like,
about you guys? I'm looking over at the chat.
is anybody saying, "Is anybody here?"
Yeah, there's plenty of
Well,
them
I
here.
can't see anything
I've
here.
had dreams where I could feel the temperature and the wind and the smell. Thank you,
Yeah.
Damon. Yeah. And hi, Damon. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah, I don't
Wow. So,
see. Oh, I
So
see 'em
that's
on
how I know
private.
the
Oh,
news.
there's lots of people here. Hi, everybody.
Oh, you went into comments. Okay.
I was in private chat because you said hi to me.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know how to use a computer.
Yeah, of course you do. I
Yeah,
mean, it was,
lots of people
we're
here.
the people, it was our generation that made the darn things,
Well, yeah.
allegedly.
Remember the Commodore 64?
Oh, yes, I actually do, and the first Apple that you had to put together and,
Yep,
the KitCraft?
yep.
Was it KitCraft? Yeah, and, even Edmund Scientific had some very early rudimentary stuff in the '60s that I played with, and
Oh, wow. Yeah,
yeah.
we had an Access computer. It was supposedly like a laptop. It was a portable computer, but it was this
Mhm.
heavy thing like a suitcase, and you took
Yep.
off the front of it, and it had a little amber screen about that big,
Mhm.
and,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, um, so that was what happened to me. Well, that was just what happened to me in at the hotel in Maui, and, what also happened to me in Maui was we decided to take a trip up Haleakala and, to see the sunrise over the crater, and it's 10,000 feet up, so we got up, like, at 4 in the morning to drive up the side of the mountain and, to be there at 6 to see the sunrise, and it was absolutely spectacular. I took, like, 10 rolls of film,
Wow,
and
film, I love film.
yeah. Oh, I know, I was an amateur photographer, and, then we were going to take a drive over to Hana, over the Hana Highway, which is 50 or 51 hairpin turns with one-lane bridges, and, it's a wonderful
What
drive.
were you driving?
Well, you know me, I'm a car girl. We
Yeah,
got
I know.
I got a Mustang convertible. It was teal.
Oh,
It was teal blue. It was really, really a pretty car. So I had the top down, and I was driving, of course, because my husband doesn't drive a stick. And, it was so much fun. It was so much fun.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, it was great. And, just we ran all over the island on that. So we had gone over to Hana, and there was this waterfall that we wanted to hike up to. And I don't remember the name of it. It was a long name, and I'm bad with names anyway, but we hiked about a mile and a half up through a bamboo forest to this waterfall, and when we came out of the woods and into the clearing where the waterfall was, I stopped. I stopped because it was exactly the waterfall. It was the scene from my dream, like,
Oh,
day
isn't
before.
that something when that happens?
Yeah.
Really makes
It
you
happens a lot. I've had a lot of dreams that things happen
they
later.
happen, yeah.
Well,
It really is it's quite moving because you realize there's a hell of a lot more to dreams than
yeah,
just dreams. When you dream about something and then it actually happens, and I mean exactly,
yeah.
it's you just know there's
I
more.
I had terrible nightmares for about 4 or 5 months before 9/11 happened, and I was seeing bodies falling past windows, like, I thought I was in a parking garage, but now I realize it was a building and just landing on the concrete in front of me. It was horrific. I actually canceled a surgery I was supposed to have because I thought it was a premonition that I was gonna die, and then September 11th, happened, and then the dream stopped. But yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Not everybody believes it, but it happens.
I know. I did a drawing before, the towers came down of the visitors were showing me the trade centers and telling me that something awful was gonna happen. In fact,
Really?
I remember that, after it happened, um, that, my late wife did not want me showing that to anybody. She was worried that they might think I had something to do with it or something because how people think about people who have precognition. Often they'll be able to tell the police where a body can be found, and then they're the ones that end up getting arrested, even though they have no connection to it whatsoever, because that's how the mind inside of a box works. So
Right.
yeah,
Right. Right. Because there's no way you could have known that unless you were the one,
yeah,
right? Yeah. So I won't be telling anybody anything.
yeah.
Um, so
Thank you,
yes.
Pamela.
So we went to, so we went to the waterfalls, and it was the same setup with the cliff and,
Mhm.
and the pools. It was called the Seven Pools, the Seven Sisters, and it was a beautiful place, and we spent an hour or 2 there. And then it was about 4 in the afternoon that we left Hana, and my husband didn't wanna drive back the way we had come because it was kinda like the long way around. Our hotel was on the other side of the mountain, and so he asked a ranger if there was another way to get back over to the Wailea Beach hotels. And he told us that there was this, road that got washed out in the rainy season, but it had been dry for many weeks and it should be okay. So I was like, "Okay, let's drive on this road." So we took off and it was a paved road in the beginning, and then it became unpaved, and then it got rocky, and then I realized we were not driving straight toward the Wailea beaches anymore. We were sort of like curving up and going up the hill again, and it started to look like a moonscape. There had been an old, like, crater where, there had been an eruption and there was lava. It was a lava flow that we were overlooking. It looked like we were on the moon. And of course, we had the top down and the sun has gone down and it's pitch black out there. There's no houses anymore. We're not even seeing cattle or anything like that anymore. We're really out in the middle of nowhere. And we're going up the side of the volcano again on this little road that's barely a road. And I'm feeling lost and scared and I'm looking over the mountain and I'm seeing down there where there's the beach, the lights are, of the hotels are lit up on the beach, and I'm like, "That's where we need to be. Why are we going up this, mountain?" And, um, and then my husband says, Look at that." And he points, and to my left, I'm driving, to my left, about maybe 15 feet away from me, away from the car, is this giant pure white owl. It's a snowy owl, and
Wow.
it's flying next to the car, and we're probably only doing 30 miles an hour at that point because it was pretty rocky road. And, I look at it and I look again, and it just seemed like it was there for a long time.
Do they have snowy white owls over there? I mean, I don't even know if they're indigenous.
I don't think they are. I think they could probably get there, like, if they landed on a ship and went for a ride or something like that. I suppose it's possible, but they
Yeah, well,
certainly
anything's possible.
yeah, anything's possible, but there's certainly that's not their range. That's not where they're from or where they live, but anything's possible. I wouldn't say no. Um, or or it could be something else, and it was nothing now also, I wanna say that at the time, in '95, I had no interest in aliens, I didn't know anything about it, I had not read Communion, I had seen E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind or whatever, that movie,
Mhm.
and, but I had a very, very limited, interest in it, no interest in it at all, really, and so it didn't mean anything to me, these things that were happening, these tall white beings, this gray face with a big almond eye. I didn't say, "Oh my god, that's a gray, that's an alien." I
Yeah.
didn't have that in my mind. I didn't have that in my I know everybody likes to say, "Oh, the culture's full of it. You saw this, you don't even remember it, but, it's
No,
come."
you didn't.
But I didn't. I really
And
had
plenty of people are in your I mean, more people than not tell me exactly what you're telling me.
yeah, I
They
really
didn't
had
look at the books, they didn't
no
watch anything.
interest.
They saw Close Encounters because everybody saw
Yeah,
Close Encounters,
everybody saw that movie, and, in the '80s, I was a single parent, I was working hard at the hospital, I was trying to pay the bills, I had just gotten married, starting a new family, and, I had no interest in any of this stuff, and it came to me, I didn't ask for it, it came to me,
Mhm.
and, it was many years before I realized what was happening or what that had been. And it's strange how the mind puts it away, puts it in a box and puts it away. And then years later, you read something or somebody says something, and then all of a sudden you start to put the pieces together.
Yeah, it's like a big flashback. You start seeing all the things and connecting the dots. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Well,
think that's really common too.
it is. Well, even though when I was a kid, that first encounter that everybody got to see if they watched, but something is there in my bedroom in San Francisco,
That's right.
I never forgot that. And but then after that, for years, I'd see UFOs. I had a tremendous interest in them because I saw so many UFOs. I was always seeing them as a kid, and even later on as an adult through high school and into college. But I never connected the dots till I read communion. I didn't think,
Yeah.
that was really happening to me. I was just seeing stuff, and it was amazing, and I knew that there was more going on up there than Mercury and Gemini and Apollo and all that kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
You
You
start
just I mean,
connecting the dots, and
it seems incredulous, but it's not. It's not.
Mhm.
It's just so fantastic. It's so beyond the norm that you just don't put it together. It takes a long time. And, so anyway, I just 2 years ago, I did, some hypnosis
You
with,
did.
I did.
Who
And
did you work with?
I worked with, Laura
Oh yes, yeah. I can't
Lori
remember her last name. I'm dead
Lori
close.
McDonald, Lori McDonald.
Yes. Okay.
She's lovely. She was very good. She
Mhm.
specializes in this, and she
Mhm.
was in California, and we Skyped it, and it worked fine for me. I'm
Yeah,
apparently
Yvonne
very
Smith does
suggestible.
that as well.
What's that?
Yvonne Smith does that as also. She
Oh,
does.
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you said that. So I did that, and this moment in the car where I see the owl, when I was telling her the story like I'm telling you now, that
Mhm.
was one of the points she said, "Let's target that." And when I targeted that memory, what came out was there was a ship above us, and it took us. And I never even considered that. I don't have that in my regular memory. It
Mhm.
was if it was there, it was wiped. Um, but I will tell you this, when we got back to the hotel, the ranger told us that this drive should take us no more than 4 to 6 hours. We got home at 4 in the morning. We got back to the hotel at 4 in the morning. We had left the falls at 4 in the afternoon. We were gone for 12 hours. Can you even drive a Mustang convertible for 12 hours
On
on a
that
single
little
tank
island.
of
Yeah.
gas?
Yeah.
Or on that little island. Yeah, 12 hours. You're gonna go around that island a couple times.
So
So, something happened
so at
because
that time,
do remember
how did you account for it?
I didn't. I remember getting back to the room and I'm like, "Andy, it's 4 in the morning. Where how the heck did" and he just like, he just dismissed he's a science brain. He's like, "Oh, I don't know, whatever." He never thought about it. And I dismissed it too because he did.
Yeah,
But
sure.
when I thought about it years later, I'm like, 12 hours. We were driving for 12 hours. How did the gas tank not empty? How did we even go 12 hours? If I were driving 30 miles an hour for 20 miles, I mean, do the math. It's not 12 hours, is it? I don't know. But, you
Yeah.
know, um,
12 hours is a long time.
so I think that was a missing time incident. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
but I
you
don't have any
under
memory.
hypnosis, not you didn't get any other details other than the craft and
I didn't because I was scared.
yeah.
I was scared.
So your
What you
mind
just
shut down. It
yeah,
shut it off. Yeah.
I didn't wanna see it, I guess. It scared me. It scared me. So we only targeted it that one time, and I saw that the light in front of my car was suddenly brighter than my headlights, and she told me to look up, and when I looked up, there was the blue light coming down and the ship above.
That's a pretty scary light.
And that's when I just said,
Yeah.
"I'm outta here."
Yeah.
I
No, that's
I
a very scary
yeah,
moment because so much goes along with that blue light. The fact that once it's on you, they can pretty much do what they want. They can lift you, they can keep you from moving and it's just it still scares me to this day. There's just something about that
yeah,
is very disturbing. So
yeah,
it's literally a ray that just grabs you like a
yeah,
tractor beam. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Regardless of their intentions, we still react to it that way, a lot of us. So
Yeah, it was frightening. I didn't wanna see what happened after that. Um, and that wasn't the last time I saw the blue light either. So, we go home, and, maybe a couple weeks later, I'm at home, it's the middle of the night, I'm in bed, and I wake up, and I notice there's a blue light outside my bedroom door in the hallway. And we had one of these houses, it was a new little house with, a two-story foyer and a big window in the foyer, and so that light could come in the 2nd story and hit that wall, but the way the street was situated, there was no way that a car light would even hit our straight onto our house, and if it
Yes.
did, it wasn't gonna be 2 stories in the air to hit that wall as bright as I was seeing. So I
Yes.
was seeing a bright blue light illuminating the wall outside my room, and I'm like, you're kinda like, you're awake, you're not awake, and I'm like, "That's really weird," and I go back to sleep.
Yeah, and you go back to sleep.
And then I
Damon just asked, do you
yeah,
feel that these visitations are a curse or a blessing?
um, I
So
wouldn't
hard.
s I would not s I would say neither a curse or a blessing. I am it's hard to say. I don't feel like it's a blessing, but I feel like it's something that I wouldn't say if I had a choice between having it and not having it, I would choose to have it
Me
because
too.
it has enriched my life.
Yep, I
I
agree.
I feel like I was a spiritual person before that, but I became even more so after that, this stuff started happening, and I became a better person, and, so it's very interesting. It's made my inner world it's made me more aware of my inner world, and I think my life is richer for it.
Yeah, you wrote about that in my Substack, and I really appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I started looking at
It's
your stuff.
something
I'm
people need to
sorry.
read about this.
Yeah.
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 So,
So
you saw
so
the blue light?
oh, so I'm in my bedroom,
Mhm.
and I see the light, and I fall back to sleep, or I close my eyes.
Yeah.
And then I open my eyes again, and the blue light is still there, but now there's a figure standing in the doorway, backlit by this light. So I can't really see any detail, of the
Mhm.
face of it, but I see this outline of this humanoid figure, and it's really tall and it's really skinny. And for some reason, I don't think we're being robbed, that's not what went through my mind. I was just like, "What is that? What is that?" And I close my eyes again, and I open my eyes again, and it's like I'm going in and out. I'm kinda like and each time I open my eyes, I wake up a little bit more, and I open my eyes again, and there's 2 beings standing in the doorway, and that's when I really start to wake up. And so I'm waking up, and I'm starting to feel some fear that there's something in my room, that this is real, this isn't a dream, that I've opened my eyes a couple times now, and there's something there. And I close my eyes another time, and when I open them again, the one has come into the room, there's one standing in the doorway, and there's a third one standing behind it in the hall. So now there's 3 of them. And then I really start to panic, and I wanna reach for my husband who's lying next to me, but I find that I can't move. And I wanna scream, and I can't do that. And I'm now awake, and I'm watching these things. There's no closing my eyes again. I'm watching these things walk into my room. They're at the foot of the bed. They're at my side of the bed. They're coming around the side of my bed, and as this first one is reaching me or getting close to me, it reaches its arm up like this, and there's these long, skinny, segmented fingers, and it takes its finger and it pushes it into my nose right here,
Hmm.
and it pushes my head back on the pillow, and I wanna scream, I wanna move, and I can't, and it just does that to me, and then I'm asleep. And the next thing I know, I'm waking up in the morning, and I'm waking up, and I'm I'm remembering something when I'm waking up, and my mind is telling me, my mind is like, "Oh, you had a spider crawl into your nose. You have a spider that went into your nose." And so I guess the segmented legs is what made me think of a spider.
Sure, a lot of people do.
So
Even
is this a
Whitley.
screen memory? I don't know.
Yeah, well, remember Whitley, and I don't know if you read his book, but
Yeah, I have
he
now.
and I have too. Yeah, I've seen the spider thing, and their fingers, they're like limbs of a spider.
Yeah. The more segments than our fingers. It's more than 3, it's like 5.
Mhm.
They're like long segmented and went into my nose. And, my husband's getting ready for work, and I'm lying there, and I'm like, my nose is draining, draining, draining. I'm like blowing my nose like I've got a cold. And I told him, I said, I think a spider crawled into my nose and I'm trying to blow it out and it won't come out. But I'm like draining and draining. And he looks at me, he looks like, "Oh, you're like having an allergic reaction to it. Your eyes all red, whatever." He goes to work. He's like, "Well, your body will take care of it. Don't worry about it. If there's something in if there's something in there, your body will wall it
You
off
got a
and
scar on my nose. Oh, you'll be fine.
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." Well, that's how medical people are. We just, I was a nurse and X-ray tech, and we're
Sure.
just like, "Oh, the body will take care of it. Don't worry about it. It's fine. You'll be fine." So, I'm getting up and I've got stuff to do that day, and I'm like, how am I gonna like deal with this, drainage? And it did that for 3 or 4 days, several days. And flash forward about a year, and I was having really bad TMJ symptoms. My jaw was cracking and snapping and in a lot of pain. So I was seeing an ENT doctor to see if there was something we could do about it because it was locking. It just cracked just now. I still have it. And he wanted to do surgery. And I wasn't really keen on having surgery because I really don't like, once they open you up, there's no going back.
Yeah, I
So,
know.
so anyway, I had x-rays done. For the TMJ, it's sinus x-rays. There's sinus films. There's like 5 of them they take to see that joint. And, I was an X-ray tech, so when they took the films, I went in back with the doctors to look at the films, and I told one of them because we work together, we all work
Mhm,
together,
mhm,
and I said to him, I said, "There's something right here in my sinus. It's gonna be right here." And he puts the films up on the light board. This is years ago before digital.
mhm.
And he looked at it and he went, "Right there, right there." There was this little white, smaller than a grain of rice in my maxillary sinus, my right sinus,
Right.
right where I pointed to.
I'm very familiar with these things.
I'm not. So
It's
I
very difficult to reach that too, unlike some of the other ones I've encountered.
yeah, you can't get in there. I mean,
Is it still there?
yeah, I never had it taken
There's
out.
you can. I mean, they'd have to go through your face and into the sinus, and no
They'd
way.
yeah, they'd go into the nose and they'd go over here and
Yes.
no, I don't
We could
want
do it now, but, yeah, I wouldn't do it. I haven't had anything removed from me, so.
yeah, no, I don't feel a need to. I actually kinda think maybe it does things for me.
Yeah. Well, isn't that interesting, though? You really don't know what, you don't know why, but you have this feeling that you should leave it alone and that it's helping me somehow.
Yeah.
And I get this from a lot of people, but some
Yeah.
people want them removed, and I've been present with Dr. Roger Lear during these removals and got a good look at them.
Yeah, I read about that. What did they look like?
Well, they vary, but most of the ones that he was removing they looked like little meteorites. I mean, but they had a shape to them, and they were made of meteoric material.
Wow.
But they had nanotubes inside of them.
Mhm.
They also gave off a sort of radio frequency. I forget exactly which one, but the most amazing thing about them is that they had human nerves growing out of the metal.
That's insane.
It was tissue, and I think it was designed so that the body wouldn't reject it. It
Yeah.
would recognize the tissue. I mean, that's just a theory. Roger and I talked about this a lot, but I was there when the implants are being removed, and it affected us, Whitley and I both, watching it happen. It was emotional, and it was, I don't think they should have been doing it, kind of thing, kept
Yeah.
screaming at me,
Yeah.
and don't
Yeah.
you dare think about having this done.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't wanna have it done. Yeah. I have a strange thing that has kind of happened to my body. I mean, that was, 30 years ago,
Hmm.
and, I've had some growth, like my bone right here has grown. I've had, it's my mandible has grown a little bit, and the back of my skull has grown a little bit so that I'm asymmetrical now. So, I got it into my mind that I might have, was it acromegaly?
Oh.
A pituitary tumor maybe? Because my oldest son, had a pituitary tumor, and it was causing him trouble, and then they gave him medicine to shrink it, and it went away, and the symptoms went away. So I thought maybe that I had some kind of tumor that maybe needed to be taken care of. So I told my doctor about, these symptoms, and she said, "Well, it's an easy test. We'll just test you to see, how much human growth hormone you have."
Hmm.
And when that test came back, I mean, there's a range like this, and I was in the upper part of it, very close to the top of what is considered normal. And so then she said, "Well, let's do the next test, which is a glucose push test. You drink this glucose, and then they take 5 blood draws to watch how your growth hormone reacts to the sugar." And that test came back negative. So we didn't find that I had acromegaly. However, I read a study that said that growth hormone, some people were taking growth hormone because they thought that it was going to help them live longer,
Hmm.
and that there was some scientific evidence for that, but that there's a lot of, other things, side effects from doing that, so you really shouldn't do that. So I kind of roll it around in my mind, well, maybe this thing is causing me to have a higher level of growth hormone, and maybe that'll help me live longer. I mean, you get these weird ideas when you have these
Sure.
strange things happening to you. But that was a thing. I don't know. I don't know if it's a real thing, but it's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know. Thank you, Jimmy Church, and he's always saying that, but it's true. We just don't know. But you get a gut feeling,
Yeah.
and how often is your gut feeling right? I mean, I did a little experiment
Quite
with
a bit.
my granddaughter this morning while I was washing dishes, and she, I told her, if you flip a coin and you're going to get a picture in your mind, and that picture you act on right away, and you say it's heads. And if you don't think about it, if you don't analyze it, if you just say what comes in your mind, you'll get it right almost every time. She
Mhm.
flipped the coin like 20 times. I missed it maybe once,
Yeah.
and she was amazed by it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you find that you can,
Yeah, absolutely. My stepmother used to play ESP games with me. This
so
is
with the
back
cards,
in the 60s,
star,
yeah.
squiggly lines, X, box, circle? Yeah.
Yeah, and I was really good at it. I mean,
Have you
I
tried
was
it
good.
recently?
No,
You'll
not
find you're
really.
you'll
I'm
find you're
really good
better.
at those kinds of games, though, like
But you'll find
concentration.
it you're better at it now. The older I get, the better I get at it.
I'll have to play with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
But I think a lot of this has, well, it could be that we already had this ability and that's part of the attraction, or we have the ability magnified by the interaction with the beings. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
it's a thing.
I
It's a
kinda think everybody has these abilities, but
Yeah,
we're just not told that they're real,
yeah,
We're told that they're not real.
yeah.
So,
You don't have any powers.
what you believe, that's what you manifest,
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
I remember, when I was a kid having dreams of swimming underwater and breathing and flying, and when I was young, I was kind of, like, frustrated that I couldn't actually do that because I really believed that I could.
Yeah, me too. And
Yeah.
I think you'll find that everybody here will that's had these experiences will testify to that, because it is common, and we all feel like we had these powers once that we don't have anymore. And
Yeah.
of course, the first time you saw Superman, and when you were a kid, you just knew you could do that, but you couldn't now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the place that we just came from. We could think of something and it would be there,
Yeah.
or we would think of a place and we would be there. And
Yeah, like Forbidden Planet.
yeah.
But you have to be careful with that because the monsters from the id,
Did.
you think to yourself, God, I wish that guy would just drop dead. And then he dies, and it's like, oh my God, or a monster gets sent to kill him. I mean, it's
Careful what you think.
yeah. Well, we should anyway.
Well,
So
absolutely. I believe that.
so we were talking about
Oh, the implant.
the implants, and so what
So
happened after that? I mean, there must be more because I know there's more.
there's lots more.
Yeah.
So the next thing was I went through 5 years of secondary infertility. I had married at 20. I had a child at 22 with no problem. I divorced and I remarried at 30, and we started right away trying to have children. And after about a year, I decided to ask my doctor about it, and we started playing with hormones to try to get pregnant. And I did get pregnant. I didn't have trouble getting pregnant with the hormone stimulation, but I had trouble keeping the pregnancies. I had several miscarriages, and it was very, it was very painful and very, just it was hard. It was hard. You get pregnant and I learned not to say anything to anybody for a while. And so I had several miscarriages. I had an ectopic pregnancy that I needed to have surgery to remove at one point. Um, so we had to do IVF. We went to IVF. We went to Boston, and we came home with twins. And that's when things really started to rock and roll at home. We had moved to another town. We were in a new house, and I was pregnant with twins. And one night I woke up and there was a blue light in my doorway. And in my mind, I told myself it was the VCR. It was a light from the VCR on the TV, even though that was over there and the door was over here,
That's
and
how
the
the mind
the
works.
light was green, it wasn't blue. But your mind tells you these things because you
It's
don't
trying
have
to
enough
protect
time.
itself.
Yeah, and I'm asleep, and I'm kind of waking up a little bit and seeing this and going back to sleep. Well, then I wake up to go to the bathroom, and I get out of bed, and there's a big window next to my bed that I have to pass by when I'm going to the bathroom. And I notice that it's light outside in my backyard. And I'm like, "Oh, must be morning. It must be later than I thought."
Yeah, Mary will relate to that.
So, I'm in the bathroom, and I'm looking out the window in there, and I'm like, "Huh, the sky above the tree line is dark, but my yard is really light. It must be the light on the back of the house. Must be the porch light." So, I come back out, and I'm like, "That light is really bright. There's no way that's the porch light. The porch light's way over there. It can't be. We don't have a light right here." So then I stand in the window and I'm fully awake. I've used the bathroom, I've washed my hands, I've dried my hands, I've been looking out the window, and I'm totally awake.
Yes.
Standing at my window next to my bed, looking into my backyard, which is lit up like broad daylight. And then I noticed the locust tree behind the sunroom, which is a tall, tall tree, huge tree. It's an old tree, big, round, tall tree. And I'm looking at this tree, and the trunk is a blue light, a whitish blue light. It's and I'm looking at this light, and I'm like, "That's so weird." And then I'm looking up the trunk into the canopy of the tree, and there's these swirling lights going like this.
Wow.
And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, "What am I seeing here? What am I seeing?" And the lights are yellow and orange and red and green, and they're just kinda swirling, and there's this the trunk of the tree is all lit up blue. And I'm just standing there, and then all of a sudden, I start feeling the buzzing around my lips, and it covers my face and my whole body, and snap, I'm floating in the trunk of the tree, I'm floating in the blue light. Snap again, I'm walking down a curved hallway, everything's silver around me.
Mm.
I'm passing doorways on my right,
Mhm.
and I'm glancing like I can't, I'm not supposed to there's 2 little things walking beside me, like, they're right beyond my peripheral vision, like, behind my shoulders, they're, like, right here, like, if I put my hand
Mhm.
out,
Mhm.
I'll touch them, but I know I'm not supposed to look at them. But I'm looking in the doorways as I walk by, and they're dark rooms. There's a blue light, like, along the floor, and I can see there's, like, countertops and some tables, but I don't really see anything beyond that, and I pass, like, 3 doorways like that. Then we come to this room, and we walk into it, and it opens up into this enormous space, and it's all white. The walls are white, the floors are white, everything's white, and there's a line of people that are standing to my right, and there's these silver bookshelves.
Hmm.
There's silver shelving with, like, book bags sitting on them, and I'm looking across the room, and there's tables set over here, and I'm looking at the people.
And they're people.
They're human people
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
me.
Mhm.
They they're not talking, they're not they're just kinda standing there in line, and they seem kinda dazed, maybe asleep, you know? And, I don't remember hearing anything while I'm there. When I was walking in the hallway, I remember the smell. The smell was like hot rocks, like on a summer day and the sun is drying the rocks. Have you ever had that? If you smell that smell? And I remember my feet. I remember the floor. Felt like I was walking, like, on the back of a whale. I remember diving with dolphins and feeling their skin, and that's how I imagine, like, what a whale would feel like.
The
So,
floor felt like this.
the floor felt like that. I was barefoot walking on
Yeah.
this floor, and it just had, like, a give to it, and that smell, and then this big white room. So I'm looking at these people, and now I'm very pregnant with twins, and I'm on strict bed rest. I'm only supposed to go from my bed to my bathroom to the little table at the end of my bed to eat, and then back to bed. I'm on breathing tablets because I'm starting to have Braxton Hicks. I'm only 23, 24 weeks pregnant,
Mhm.
and I've already had to have shots of progesterone to keep these babies in because I started bleeding at 12 weeks. So there was a lot of stress surrounding this pregnancy. I'd had all these, miscarriages, and now I'm pregnant with twins, and I'm gonna hold on to these babies come hell or high water.
Mhm.
So I'm standing in this line, and I'm getting very agitated because I'm thinking, "I can't be standing here. I need to get back to bed. I'm supposed to be laying down because everything I'm doing right now is to keep these babies in here as long as possible." So I start getting really agitated and angry. And I'm like, "I wanna know who's in charge." And I'm looking along the line, and these bookshelves are in the way, so I remember I moved a bit to see beyond the bookshelves around the other side, and then I see that the line ends, and there's these 4 tall white beings standing at the end of the line. They were the same tall white beings that I saw in Hawaii. I wasn't thinking about that at that time, but in reflection later, I did. So anyway, I break out of the line and I walk directly up to the end of the line, and I walk right up to this one woman, this one female, and I'm standing in front of her, and she's taller than me, and she's slender, and she's that paper white with the big eyes, and in my mind, I'm thinking she looks like Marie Osmond. I don't know why. It was just like an erroneous thought, and I remember I had it. And I'm looking at her and I'm thinking to her, I'm not speaking, I'm thinking, but I'm shouting in my mind, "You have to stop taking me. This is stressing me out. These are our babies. We put them in there. They're not yours." Those are the things that I said to her with my mind. None of those thoughts had I ever had in my waking time. But in that moment, I knew that I had been taken
Mhm.
multiple times. I knew that it was stressing me out, and I was begging her to stop because these babies were ours. We put them in there. And then the dream ends or whatever it was. It wasn't a dream. I wasn't asleep. I didn't start out
Well,
sleep.
you were conscious looking out the window. I mean,
I
and
was
then
I was
suddenly you're
and
asleep
then
while standing up. I mean, and you
yeah.
remembered as now you so you came to again at the window and
No, I
attributed
the
you
next
found
thing
yourself in bed.
the next thing I remember, I'm waking up in the morning in bed.
Yeah, I know. And the thing about this is, I think we all should look back into these alleged dreams because a lot of times they start off conscious
Yeah.
and then suddenly you're in bed. And the memory, you never forget the memory of the dream. And I believe that what you experience is coming out of your subconscious to your conscious, and you're remembering it in your dreams. It comes out that way.
Mm.
Uh, and I've heard this talked about before, and a lot of people agree that that's the case. But the way it works is you talk to people that are on the outside who do live in a box, and what goes up must come down. They're going to say that was just a dream.
Just a dream.
So it
Just a
works
dream,
it
darling. Yeah,
works well for them.
yeah.
It doesn't work so well for us because if someone doesn't understand this subject matter and hasn't looked into it in great detail, they're just going to pass it off as a dream. If you think it's anything more than that, you're just nuts.
If somebody told me this and I had never experienced it, I would be hard pressed to believe it myself.
Yeah. It's interesting about that line too, because I remember coming to in my sleep.
Mhm.
It's like a dream, but I remember there was this concrete like walkway and a concrete wall to one side. And I remember looking at trees and took a deep breath and I put my hand on the concrete and I was feeling it. This is real. I'm really here. And I looked and I
Mm.
was in a line of people and like you were describing, and they were holding babies. And we were moving along like this, going towards the end of the line. And there were some very odd looking people down at the end. And um, I look back on it now. And again, that's one of those dreams. I've never forgot it.
Yeah. Yeah, this was another moment that I, targeted for hypnosis.
You're right.
When
Oh,
I'm
you
s
did.
Yeah, when I was standing the memory that I retrieved in hypnosis is I'm standing in front of the female, and I'm yelling at her, telling her to stop taking me, that these babies, you're stressing me, I don't wanna lose my babies.
Right.
She hands me one of those bundles that I saw on the shelves. She
Hmm.
hands me a bundle, and I look down, and it's a baby,
Yeah. The
and I name it. I name it Petal. I
hell,
named
I'll
it.
be darned. Um,
And then she told me to sit at the tables that I had seen when I first walked in, and I sat down at one of the tables and held the baby.
yeah, you know something else?
Hmm.
You said the people were kind of dazed, maybe asleep. They weren't really responding, but
Yeah.
yet you were walking around and you had the ability to go over to her and tell her off.
Yeah, I
And
did.
I find this often with myself, and a lot of other people do too. And I have been told more than once, "You're different. You're special. You're not like the others."
Hmm. I
Because
don't remember anyone saying that to
I
me.
get confused as to why they're asleep, why they're on a table having things done to them, and I'm not, and able to walk around or even go
Yeah,
stand, look out a window and look at the earth down below and that kind of thing. And it's
yeah.
just, yeah,
Yeah, I had agency. I had agency. I could break out of that line. I was not like them. That is true.
right.
That is
It-
true.
it's like when I was on one of what I call the flying buses, the big silver cigar things, and I was inside, and it's very much like an airliner inside. It's dead quiet, and I'm sitting there, I'm looking around. There's all these people, and they're dressed in all different things, night clothes, daily wear clothes, but they're all out.
Yeah.
and this big tall guy comes walking down. He looks at me, and I get up, and I said, "What's going on here?" And he said, "Don't you know?" And I said, "Well, I know these people are all asleep, and I'm not, and I know what's going on to a degree." And he said, "That's because you're different." It's
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Why?
I
Why are
don't know.
we different?
I don't know. But you had the two kids, which is
Yeah.
great, twins, and they
Yes. They
they
turned
res-
25 on the 3rd a couple
and
days
they
ago.
respected that. You know.
Yeah, they stopped taking me at that time, but things continued happening, and things happened with my children as they grew too. Um, my daughter, said that a funny owl was outside her window. She
Right.
told a babysitter that there was these little men that came into her room and took her out through the wall. The babysitter told me, and, my older son, got up to go to the bathroom and saw tall white beings outside my bedroom door.
Hmm.
So they were all being affected,
You
and
you saw my show I did about my experience a couple weeks ago, where
I
the
think
big
so,
tall
yeah.
white one was bending over and putting her face right in my face.
Yes,
Did
yes.
that feel familiar at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's always the same one. And
Yes.
yes, you're right, Catherine.
Yeah, it's, yeah, I recognize that female.
Yeah,
It's like she's
very much in control and almost
yeah,
arrogant. Has a certain arrogance.
yeah, yeah, serene. I would say she was serene and a little austere, maybe not quite
Hmm.
arrogance, but austere,
Yeah, yeah.
you know?
Maybe that's a better term for it.
Yeah,
But
um,
she definitely knows what she's
but
doing.
definitely in control, definitely
Hmm.
in control, and I don't know why I thought I could challenge her, but, that's a mother's instinct, you know?
Yeah, and I think they get that. They've been doing this for a pretty long time.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
So, I don't know if I was part of a breeding program or they were taking my eggs or taking babies. I have no idea about all that stuff. That when I've read about that stuff, it freaks me out a little bit to think that
Yeah.
that
You're
could have
thinking you
happened.
may have some other children out there.
Yeah.
You were never shown
Well,
anything
just that one that
just
I
that one time?
just that one time. Yeah, I don't remember any other times. I think someday I'll probably try hypnosis again
Right.
and see if I can get anywhere else. But it really scares me, I feel compelled to talk about it. That's why, I talk to you
Well, it
about it.
helps. It helps. It doesn't matter if people
Yes.
think you're crazy or not. You feel so much better after you get it off your chest because,
Yeah.
and they must have known this when they started this whole thing with us way back when. Because I saw the um the tanks, the rooms, the galleries with all the tanks and all the
Oh, yeah.
fetuses in them, and
Yeah.
they were quite developed when I saw them. And then I was shown about about a 6-year-old that
Mhm.
I was told it was the result of um, genetic material taken from me and another member in our support group that I later met. She was a new member and came in, and we looked at each other and recognized each other. It was really spooky.
Yeah.
Um, and she had blue eyes and red hair, and this child had red hair and blue eyes. I had brown eyes. Blue is dominant, I think, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, it
Yeah, it
is.
is. Yeah.
And I mean, it looked pretty much human. I mean, nice little child, but the eyes were larger. Not a
Yeah.
lot, but just enough. And,
Yeah.
the little being next to it, showing it to me, seemed very proud of itself.
Hmm.
So,
So strange.
yeah, it is. It's all very strange. But again, what Catherine was saying, McLeod, was that these non-ordinary states are strange, but once you experience them, you recognize them if when they happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I
I
wish I
think
could
I
tell these
think the
people.
biggest problem with all this is that you just there's this part of your mind that just doesn't want to believe it, no matter how many times, like, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's just dreams, maybe I'm imagining all this. And then you've had witnesses, and you've seen things when you were fully conscious, and of
Yeah.
course you can't explain those things away. The others, you can say, well, maybe it was just a dream, even though you know it wasn't.
Yeah.
It's a
I know
struggle.
it wasn't.
Don't you find it's a struggle?
It is a struggle. It totally
Yeah.
is.
And
I know I'm not crazy, and I know it wasn't a dream.
yeah,
So where does that leave me? That leaves me with this is a reality that most
yeah,
people don't experience.
that
And
most
that's a
people don't
very
experience.
it's a very strange place to be. And
I think
so
that's going to change. What do you think? You think that's going to change?
I feel like it's going to, but I talk to people and people are like, "Yeah, I've been thinking that for a long time, but nothing ever changes." But I was just listening, Whitley just did an interview with, Sheehan, um,
Yeah.
and he was saying that they were going to bring experiencers to Congress and have them testify.
Oh, really? He
Yeah.
thinks he can get that to happen, because up to this point we haven't been given a voice.
No, I know. And
That's
they don't wanna come near experiencers because,
we
we're the
take away from their credibility.
Yeah,
That's how they're acting. Um,
yeah.
but we're the ones that know the drivers of those craft.
See,
You
that's
know.
the thing, they're only interested in the nuts and bolts, and
Yeah.
I'm not even sure there are nuts and bolts involved, I think it's a totally different thing. Um, it's a physical thing, but I don't think it's like what we have at all.
Mhm.
I think they have different materials and they can manipulate them with their minds. I think a lot of it has to do with consciousness and it's just a totally different way of being that they have. They manifest much differently than we do.
We have another thing going on now, right now, and that is, of course, the advent of the cell phone. And I think more UFOs are being seen today than ever before. It's almost as if they're deliberately not hiding. And people who have no interest, like you didn't have any interest in this subject matter, are catching, they're seeing stuff. Well, oh my God, look at that. I mean, you can hear it in their voices. I don't know
Yeah,
about you, but I've been watching thousands of
I
UFO
have too.
videos recently. And these are everyday folks, and they're at the beach or they're taking a hike and they're with people, and you can hear all the other people going, wow, what is that? And
Yeah,
they're not just the lights, they're very, they're triangles and they're multi-lighted vehicles, and other things are coming out of them. It's not fuzzy anymore. They're quite clear, and they're coming at breakneck speed,
yeah,
and more people are seeing it. So you'll see online in forums that have nothing to do with this, like next door, people putting up their videos of these things, and people are saying, yeah, I believe we're not alone. I believe there's really something to this. And more I'm finding this with people, so
yeah.
much so that we're going to go out in the street and interview people on the street, asking them what they think about this stuff as one
I
of the
think that's a
shows.
great idea.
Yeah, because I think it is changing, and I think a lot of what's helping is what you and I are doing right now.
Yeah. Well, I feel compelled to do it because I think people need to know this, and, I think there's a lot of people out there that have experienced this, and the more that we talk about it, the more, people will talk about it.
It's really hard to get them to go forward, and that's why you keep seeing my face. Here we go again.
Yeah.
And
Well, you've talked to me twice now, so
yeah, I know. We
get
need to
somebody else
get you
in
out
here.
here on film too, but
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think it is evolving. I sort of dug my heels in about that a few years ago, but I do see it improving. More and more and more. We're getting laughed at less, and I think what I'm hearing movement inside the building, and I know
oh,
there's nobody here. Yeah, isn't that great?
no,
After seeing the Netflix about Charles Hickson, um, did you see that on Netflix?
no,
You should watch it. And
oh,
Philip Mantle was involved in that. I've been talking to him again. We used to talk years ago, and he's involved in that new Netflix series. And they did one on Hickson, and I forget the younger guy that was with him. I really feel bad about that, but I'm bad with names, even though I read that about that back in the 60s newspaper. Um, it was excellent. The thing that was so moving about it is that they uncovered Calvin Parker. Thank you, Guy. Calvin, really, both of them were sweet guys. and I always believed them,
Calvin Parker.
but they recently, I think recently, where they had this tape when they were being interrogated by the police about what happened to them. The police left the room, and they had a hidden tape recorder, so
Yes,
they didn't know they were being recorded.
yes, I
And
saw that.
yeah, and you hear what they're saying after the police left the room, and they wasn't saying,
Yeah,
"Boy, we really have them going, don't we?" No,
yeah,
they were
they were like
emotional. They were
yeah,
talking about crying and how really, I mean,
yeah,
that's
it
some
was
pretty good
real.
evidence that they were on the level.
Yeah,
So
that was real. That was the 2 guys that were sitting that after work, they were sitting down on the dock by the water, down what was it, down in New Orleans?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I did see something about that. Yeah,
And I remember that being in the newspaper and on TV and everything as a kid, and I really, yes, poor Calvin passed away last year.
yeah.
Um,
What year
and
was
I remember it. They put up a memorial to them, showing the spot where it happened and everything, which was really nice of the town because it really
that?
paid respect to them.
Yeah,
The mayor, everyone in the end believed that what happened to them actually happened. And there were other people they interviewed that saw the lights the same night and
yeah,
described them and how they shot off into the sky.
yeah,
And there's no question in my mind that they were on the level and that actually happened.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So what's next, Judy?
What's next? Well, that's kind of where things just kind of, they continued,
Right.
they just kinda continued. There wasn't any more big revelations or anything,
Sure.
and then it turned into, like well, for a long time, I don't think anything was happening. We had
That
we moved
happens.
we moved across town to a
Mhm.
different house, and there was a bunch of ghosty things happening,
Well, that's all related. So
and yeah, and, we actually had, a paranormal, group come in, and they got some stuff, and
cool.
so it was interesting, but, then I started having them then I started having, like okay, so I fell and I hurt my shoulder, and, I woke up in the middle of the night with the buzzing, and I had the sense that there was something standing behind me, so I kinda, like, looked behind me, and there were in my mind, there were these 4 honeybees standing behind me, and they were working on my shoulder. And next time I went to PT, the guy was amazed at how much better my range of motion was than it had been 2 days earlier. So, there's that kinda thing going on, but
Right.
I
They're
don't
still
think
there.
they're still around, I just
Yeah,
don't
you
think
can
anything's
sense it,
taken. Yeah,
but I've noticed it's starting to happen more often again.
it
And
is.
yeah, and for me, yeah, my urologist was pretty amazed when he took a peek back inside my bladder again, which is just a wonderful experience. Uh,
Yeah, I know.
and hey, there's no scar tissue this time. You look great in there.
Gee, I
And
wonder.
that, and something had happened just several weeks before that. It
Right.
could be, but I
Yeah,
don't really know for sure.
but you have a hunch.
Yeah, I have a hunch,
Yeah,
and um, yeah, it, they're there. And
yeah.
the implant I know I have is in my ear, which
Mhm.
is throbbing right now. It makes perfect make prize for these headphones,
Yeah.
you know. But like Whitley, I have one there, and there's probably other ones too. But I
Yeah.
never wanted them to take out because, like you, I feel that they're helping me, and I feel like more than once they saved my life.
Mm.
I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if you feel that way or anyone else feels that way, but I feel that I would be long dead if it wasn't for their intervention. So,
I can't say that I maybe if I thought about it really hard, if there was any time, that I felt like I was saved from dying, but I certainly feel a presence that's always with me, protecting
mhm,
and guiding me, and,
mhm,
just putting thoughts in my mind to do something or not do
mhm,
something, or to
mhm.
say something or not say something, just kind of guiding me, and it's like it's always there. And I'm always, like, ready to listen to that guidance because it's always good when I do.
Have you ever been around a clairvoyant?
Yes,
Did they
um
tell you that somebody was watching over you who was close by?
oh, definitely. Oh, I have a lot of people around me.
Yeah.
The last clairvoyant I went to was at a fair, and I sat down across from her, and she says, "You could probably be doing what I'm doing." I'm like, "Maybe, but I don't want to." But,
Yeah.
there was one time I had surgery, I was in the hospital, and, in the middle of the night, I had a dream, which I remember clearly, and there was, a group of people that were all dressed in, like, black suits, and they were in my room, and it was kind of a harrowing time. They almost overdosed me on morphine. I would, like, exhale all the way out, and then I didn't breathe to take another breath in, and my husband's, like, shaking me, like, "Turn down the morphine." So but in the morning, after I had that dream of all the people in my room, I woke up and my roommate, she says to me, she says, "What was the party going on last night?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Oh,
And
wow.
she said, "There are all these people in the room last night." And I'm like, "Well, I had a dream there were a lot of people in the room last night." Turns out she has things happen to her too
Mhm.
where, she doesn't say she's out and out psychic, but well,
Right.
we became friends,
Mhm.
and we kind of figured it was my family members who were there just to make sure that I was okay, but, I don't know, these things are all connected, I think. I think
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
there's a continuum,
You
and,
you need to watch tomorrow night's show for sure because you're covering things that I cover in that. Yeah.
I will. I've just watched
And
everything.
I made that before we talked, so
Okay. I was gonna watch it anyway. Now I
yeah,
will.
no, it's not very long. It's only about 12 minutes long, but it's amazing how long 12 minutes seems,
How much you
especially
can cover.
when you're watching yourself. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm used to it now because I've been in front of cameras most of my adult life, so
yeah. Yeah, I
it's
don't like looking at myself. I don't like hearing my voice.
I got used to it, you know.
Yeah, I suppose you do.
Because I have to. I'm editing, so I have to
Yeah,
look
you
at
have to see it. Yeah, I would
yeah,
go crazy if
exactly.
I had to edit myself. I would be like, "Oh, no."
Yeah. Wow.
So
Thank
that's
you.
the long and short
Thank
of
you
it.
for sharing with us tonight. Before we go, if anybody would like to ask Judy some questions, now's the time. Where we went past 7 o'clock, but that's okay. We had a lot to talk about, and I was fascinated. I'm always fascinated to hear someone else's experience, and
Me too.
it like it it's validating and because we haven't talked a great deal, and I hear so much of the same experience coming from you that I know.
Yeah,
And so it helps. It's reassuring, and I'm sure it helps everybody here. So
yeah.
how
Oh, it
about it,
really
guys? You
helps me.
got some questions before we sign off?
Hey,
I'm going to
John,
go.
thank you.
Yeah, I meant to say good night to Guy, who wasn't feeling well and took off, and I always appreciate him being here. Um,
Aw.
yeah.
It's such a nice community that you're building here. Everybody is
Well,
so
yeah,
supportive.
I guess we're building it. It's sort of building itself, and then, of course, there's something else behind it. I feel so.
You
A
build it
good
and they will
thing.
come.
Because many of these people have the same experience, so they have the same um, spirit or presence around
Yeah,
them as well. And by being able to, this is like a great support group, and you don't
yeah,
have to travel anywhere to go to it. And
yeah.
it's so helpful. And I remember going, okay, Catkins has a question.
Hi, Catkins. I've seen your name before. Have I ever felt a problem with my jaw on waking up? Yeah, I'm a stressful girl. I clench my jaw as I sleep. I also have sleep apnea, so I sleep with a machine now.
Oh,
But yeah, I absolutely like yeah,
I
so
clench
sometimes
my jaw too.
yeah, sometimes I have woken up and I haven't been able to open my mouth. Yeah, but to be honest, over the years it's gotten better because I think the condyle has popped right out of the joint. I think it's pretty much unhinged at this point, so I don't get a lot of problem. I can open my mouth way too wide. Um,
Wow.
yeah, but I don't have the pain anymore, but it does crack every once in a while. Yeah,
Sorry about the apnea. I mean,
yeah,
I know a lot of friends that have that, and uh,
yeah, it's bad.
it's I'm lucky I don't, but I have had the jaw thing, and I've had the cracking, and my dentist says you grind your teeth.
I do too. I have
Yeah.
frowns on some of my molars because I've cracked my teeth. Yeah,
Wow.
it's the stress, I mean, of whatever's happening at night when we're asleep, something's happening, and I'm just like, "Ugh."
It
I
starts at an early age too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of times you'll wake up and you can't remember much. You remember some dreams and you remember that there was something not right about them, but you won't remember a lot of detail but you know how you feel physically.
Yeah,
Allegedly you had a good night's sleep.
yeah,
You don't feel like you did, and you just don't feel that well, and not unwell enough not to function and go to work and do the things you
right.
have to do. And after a few hours, you kind of get past it.
Past it, yeah,
But sometimes it lasts a couple of days, especially if you
yeah.
know for sure you've had something happen.
Yeah,
It
that happens to
leaves you a
me
little icky.
when I have these dreams that they're it's not the same dream, but it's the same kind of dream where I'm with a team of people and we have a mission to accomplish, and we're usually saving someone or doing something. It's very strange,
Well,
and, I don't know if I told you
yeah.
this last time I spoke to you, but I had this strange thing happen where I was in one of these dreams and we were sitting around this big table with all these people, and I noticed this one woman looking at me. Is somebody in your studio?
No.
Okay. So this one woman was
Hope so.
looking at me in this dream, and I looked at her and I looked at her again. We made eye contact, and it was just a weird feeling, and I'm like, "You're not supposed to be here." And then I went to a support group in Rochester for experiencers, and sitting behind me is the woman from my dream. And I didn't put it together in the moment, I just knew that I recognized her, and I didn't know. We locked eyes, and then I turned around, but it was very unsettling, and I didn't see her
Yeah,
after the meeting,
that may
but
not have
when I
been a
drove home, I'm like, "She was in my dream. That was the
yeah.
woman in my dream." Did I tell you this before?
No.
Okay. 'Cause someone
Um,
suggested to me that maybe it was maybe a military person doing remote viewing or something coming
oh, now it's
that's
starting to sound familiar, but I don't know about that because
I don't know either.
for lack of a better term, the visitors are very capable of looking or projecting themselves to you, I think, as human form.
Any way they want to, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you ever wake up feeling beat up and exhausted? Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, that's what you were just talking about. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
just awful. And my late wife would always say, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "I just, I don't feel that well." And then she'd start to realize what I'm sort of getting at, but not getting at, and she'd roll
Mhm.
her eyes in her head and she just didn't believe it,
Yeah,
until later on. Then
and then
it's
it scared her.
yeah, and then she said, "You get out or I'm leaving you."
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I can't imagine if I were the one that didn't experience and I had a partner like that. I mean, my
Yeah,
husband's so accepting that this is my reality. He doesn't judge, he really doesn't.
that's
But
good.
he doesn't believe it
Yeah,
himself.
but
But,
yes, you're lucky because a lot of people don't have that, and there's
I'm
a
very
lot of divorces and a lot of family breakups, and
yeah.
um, I
No,
think,
we've been through a lot.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know? Infertility, twins, people break up over those things too.
that's true.
We've been married over 30 years now.
Wow. Well, not unless anybody has anything else they want to know. I'm pretty tired. I need to go home, put
Yeah.
my feet up, and spend the last few hours with my grandchildren because tomorrow they're leaving. And then I'm starting on the next show, which I kind of already started doing today because I once experienced a visitor that I'm not going to give it away because I'm saving it for the show, but she did come right up to me and go and give me this look, and then she shot off. And this was broad daylight and spun and
Wow.
became a dust devil and went through the gate fence and went. I watched it. I looked over the fence and out to the middle of the street, and she just disappeared. It just disappeared. It vanished.
Wow.
So, but to what led up to that's so amazing. And so I'm hoping I can visualize that, put that together. Oh
Wow.
not, but it's
I'm intrigued.
yeah.
Okay.
You
You
just
do that. I wanna see that.
I was working on the dust devil effect today, and I managed to achieve it. It's
Cool.
working with particle generators in. Actually, I was working in Unreal Engine and not Blender, and it was just amazing what you can do with that program. Just and I
Hmm.
was able to do it, so it was great. So
Wow. Yeah, I would love to come out there and see your studio and see what you do, and that would be
well,
that would
hopefully when you do, it'll be more cleaned up than it is right now. We lived here for so long, it's kind of trashed, and we're slowly getting things back to the house. And
yeah, that's awful.
yeah, we only had about a week of it, and then we had the grandchildren. We had them for a week, so it kind of got suspended. But I really want to get this place back in shape. So
Well, I'm thinking maybe in August, so you got time to
yeah,
get things
that'd be
together.
great.
Yeah.
Rachel, thank you. You're very welcome. I'm glad everybody enjoyed it tonight, and it's really great to have you here. It's great to have Judy here.
Thank
Uh,
you for having me.
yeah, and don't forget about the premiere tomorrow night. It's the usual. It starts at 6, and there's the countdown, and it's not very long, and
I'll be there.
I think you'll enjoy it. So, and we'll be talking to you again very soon, Judy.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll do part 2 because I'm
Yes.
sure you have a lot more to share. So,
Ah. I would talk to you anytime you want. I
oh,
enjoyed
and
this.
a
Thank
lunatic.
you.
Thank you. It's good to see you here again. I love that name, a lunatic.
Lunatic.
Yeah,
I like that.
a lunatic.
A lunatic.
Yeah, you gotta love the Brits. You
Yes, I
know,
do. I
best
do.
sense of humor on the planet. So,
Absolutely. I
yeah,
love
and
that
be
dry
seeing
humor.
you. And best of luck on your exams, Catherine. Be seeing you.
Be seeing you. Yep.
Did you ever watch the TV show The Prisoner?
No.
You should watch it.
The
It
Prisoner?
has a weird association with what we're talking about, and I don't know
Really?
quite why, but it does.
Okay.
And it was done by Patrick McGowan. It was a short series, and it's brilliant. So,
Okay. I'll look that up.
a lunatic knows exactly what I'm talking about. And thank you, Pancho. All right.
Excellent.
We'll,
Okay. Thank
we'll see
you.
you guys tomorrow night in the pre-chat. Hopefully, we'll see you there, Judy.
I'll be there.
All
All
right.
right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night. Bye-bye. Thanks.